Nestled among the rolling farmlands and peaceful silos of rural Wisconsin, a family farmhouse was once a place of hard work, family bonds, and quiet evenings under starlit skies. But on a spring night in 1940, this unassuming home became the epicenter of a horrifying crime, a double murder so shocking that it left the entire community reeling. Who would target a 77-year-old widow and her son, gunning them down in cold blood? And why, after more than 8 decades, does this mystery remain unsolved? Today we step back in time to unravel this tragedy and the haunting questions that continue to linger. This is the story of Annie and William Van Camp. Hello friends, my name is Marcia, and this is Midwest Murders. In the 1940s, rural Wisconsin was defined by tight-knit farming communities, where neighbors often knew one another intimately, and the rhythm of life revolved around the cycles of planting and harvest. Electricity was still making its way into the countryside, and many farms operated without modern conveniences, relying on manual labor and shared community resources. The sense of safety and mutual trust was paramount, as doors were often left unlocked and neighbors leaned on one another in times of need. However, the shadow of the Great Depression still lingered, and with World War II on the horizon, rural communities faced uncertainty and change. It was against this backdrop of simplicity and camaraderie that the brutal murders of Annie and William Van Camp shattered the peace, sending ripples of fear throughout the heart of Wisconsin farmland. Annie Van Camp, age 77, was a widow, having lost her husband Samuel just 2 years before from a brief illness. She lived in the family farmhouse located on County Trunk U near its intersection with Highway 55, just south of Freedom, with her youngest son, 31-year-old William. Mother and son were both members of the St. Therese Society of St. Nicholas Catholic Church in Freedom. William was also a member of the Holy Cross Society. He was unmarried and had no children. On May 12, 1940, John Verkulen, who lived across the street from the Van Camp farm on another Van Camp property, got up at about 2 a.m. and noticed lights on at the farmhouse. This was unusual, as Annie and William usually retired early and certainly by midnight. John mentioned this to his wife and thought nothing more of it. At about 6:45 a.m., when William didn't come over to the south barn for breakfast milk as he usually did, John took the milk over to the farmhouse. As he approached, he saw the lights of the farmhouse were on, and the large family watchdog was tied about 30 yards from the house. Continuing on, he found William sprawled face up on the enclosed back porch, apparently shot in the face. He entered the house looking for Annie and found her in her bed. She too had apparently been shot. Outagamie County Sheriff John Lapin led the investigation. He found that both had been shot in the face by a shotgun blast. William in the left cheek and Annie in the right cheek. They had died instantly. Coroner H.F. Ellsworth was called to the scene and determined Annie and William had been dead at least 6 hours, placing their time of death between 9 p.m. and midnight. It appeared William was preparing to retire. He was barefoot and dressed only in his overalls. His bed was undisturbed. Police theorized that he had just finished shaving in preparation for church the next morning. He heard someone at the rear door and went to investigate. He was shot at point-blank range while standing in the doorway of the back porch. Annie had retired, and it appeared she either did not hear the shot that killed William, or the intruder was soon upon her, leaving no opportunity for her to get out of bed, as the bedclothes she was laying under were not disturbed. She, too, was shot at point-blank range. Robbery was the suspected motive because Annie's purse, a leather sack with a drawstring, was found on the dresser in her bedroom. It was normally kept in a small drawer in the clothes closet that police found opened. While Annie would keep some cash if she had a bill to pay, the amount varied and it was unclear if or how much she may have had. A 12-gauge shotgun along with several other guns were found in William's bedroom, but none appeared to have been fired recently. The shotgun was taken to be tested for fingerprints. A coroner's jury viewed the bodies as they lay, and an inquest was set for Thursday at the county courthouse. The original case file has been lost to time, but we can assume the jury concluded that Annie and William were killed at the hand of a person or persons unknown. The bodies were taken to St. Elizabeth Hospital for autopsy, where it was determined the mother and son had been shot with number 4 buckshot, usually used for duck and rabbit hunting. prayer services were held at the Greenwood Funeral Home, with Reverend A.W. Van Dyke officiating. A funeral mass was held at St. Nicholas Church in Freedom. Mother and son were laid to rest in the parish cemetery. In 1946, Winnebago, Wisconsin County District Attorney Rudyard T. Keefe received a letter from a woman in Kalama, Washington, that stated she had heard a son accuse his father of the murders. The woman stated that the men had threatened her life if she told what she had heard. She was also told the motive was robbery. An arrest warrant was eventually issued, and Outagamie Sheriff Lyman B. Clark, along with his assistant and DA Elmer R. Honkamp, went to Washington to pick up the suspect. Later, their trip would be called into question because of the $1,400 cost to the county. It was later learned that the letter writer had malice towards the two men, and all her information was hearsay and not useful as evidence. Ultimately, no arrest was made. The writer of the letter was never publicly identified. The murders of Annie and William Van Camp remain a chilling mystery, frozen in time, and a stark reminder that even in the closest of communities, darkness can sometimes lurk. While the small farmhouse has long since been reclaimed by the earth, the memories of that fateful night endure in the whispers of history. Perhaps one day the truth will emerge, giving closure to the family and peace to the spirits of Annie and William. Until then, their story serves as a somber testament to the fragility of trust and the enduring quest for justice. If you have any thoughts or theories about this case, please leave them in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant, and may the truth reveal itself in the shadows.